Hey everyone, thanks for joining. It's the March 2022 Complexity Weekend Heartbeat. We're going to have about 20 minutes of some cybernetic tunes by Michael Garfield, and then we'll have a organizer's introduction that'll be interactive. So whether you're watching live or in replay, thanks a ton for joining. See you in about 20 minutes for the rest of this organizer's introduction live stream, followed by the rest of the Heartbeat, like all synchronous activities at Complexity Weekend, being in this synchronous gather space that I'm in right now. So enjoy. See you in about 20 minutes. Okay. All right. Greetings, Amir.
Hi.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the March 2022 Heartbeat live stream slash recording. Uh, I'm Daniel. Amir, would you like to say hi or say anything just to sort of open this before we start with the slides?
Hi. Great to be here.
Cool. Okay. All right. Let me just resize it a tiny bit soon. Well, anyways, this opening live stream is going to have a few parts. We're just going to give some brief overviews of CW and then talk more about the Heartbeat event itself. So, whether it's your first time or returning to a CW Heartbeat, welcome to the community of practice. The first Complexity Weekend event was in person in 2019 in downtown San Francisco. And since then, we've had two weekend cohort based experiences per year. And we're heading into our next one, which is going to be in April. And this is where CW has been through. And this has set up a rhythm of every 6 months, this cohort based weekend with a pre weekend of several weeks leading up to it, and then some weekend experience and these monthly heartbeats that are there to welcome first time participants, but also connect and hopefully do more and more different things as things develop. And the monthly heartbeats are co-organizer teams. So this month it was Amir and I, but anyone would be totally welcome to be on a co-organizer team. And do you want to maybe mention anything about co-organizing, Amir? Like, who would you encourage or think would be a great organizer and help and contribute a lot via the heartbeats?
Yeah, I think it's an open thing. It's quite it's a nice entry point actually. If you're not sure that you can co-organize anything, then it's quite it's fun. It's chill. It's not stressful. Just go and do it. And then you do the live stream.
Yeah. Also, hopefully, with larger teams of organizers, we would be able to have like um, the live stream could consist of people who want to be on it. Not every organizer would have to come onto live stream, and there'd be a lot more bandwidth to, for example, have the facilitators connect for the live stream too. So it can be a lot of things. And as Amir said, it is very chill, but also it's an opening for people who want to see some kind of improvement or some kind of reach out to another community or integration with another kind of event. And the same could be said for being on a weekend co-organizing team, but that has like a longer commitment over the months leading up to the weekend rather than the weeks leading up to the heartbeat. But all just to say that participation is sort of the baseline, and that's like a little like organizer window because we hope to include more people in all these different roles. So the April 22 participant registration is open and the pre-weekend is beginning in the upcoming week. So just register or for whatever upcoming event you're at when you listen to this. This is the figure we usually show for community structure with participants as the biggest circle and the two main ways that participants join or get involved with the community through the weekends, like the April 22 weekend, or through these heartbeat events. And then we have a few organizers and a few facilitators per event. The associates and the supporters are those who are supporting the community in some way. And then there are teams and committees, which we'll talk about. Anything you want to add on this, Amir?
No, nothing in particular.
Okay. In 2022, our calendar is set for the events that we will have. It's on the site that I will put into the live chat now. And under the events and the calendars tab, here are all the dates for the upcoming events. And as we develop our website, we'll be able to have ways for auto adding all of these dates, not just seeing them interfaced here, but this gives the time of all the heartbeat intervals for the rest of 22 and other information, and will include links to RSVP as a facilitator or an organizer to be on that co-organizer team for any of these events. So that's one way to join in, is as an organizer or a facilitator for any event, for a heartbeat or for a weekend. Here is a list of the committees. So this is on that same website, the committees tab, and it lists the different committees, some of which are more active than others, and their meeting day and time in UTC, and it's all in the atrium gather space where the heartbeat is as well. So any of these committees, you can read about what they're up to, and hopefully as there's more and more participation on each committee, there will be better and better ways for them to communicate back out what they're working on. Perhaps this could have gone here, but the cohorts for the weekend and then the heartbeat as kind of a microcosm of that are consisting of people coming from a lot of different time zones and countries and areas in the global sense, and then also from the familiarity with learning and applying complexity. Okay, so previously in Heartbeat live streams, we've had some slides, and for the values and these sort of things listed here, there was the slides that were versioned by the organizers, and then there was the editable or the commentable and editable GDoc with the values and all the other comments. And so we've now, through a process of having people add and comment and then kind of merge it and archive the other comments, we, on the same website, which will be the link in the chat, in the values tab, you can read the mission and some notes, as well as just distillations, purpose, values. And so, like, for example, these were the things that had been listed on the slides previously, for those who have watched other live streams, or read them on your own time at the values page. As well as a list of organizational alignments that are in progress and completed and proposed. So a good resource that hopefully more and more people are helping edit and improve, so that we can have good information and transparency, and just improve how we reach this artifact and what it means to us. And then also there's a participation guidelines, which was previously in the slides was like, there were the values and then the participation guidelines. So that's two separate pages here. And there's a general participation guideline section. And then there's a some role-based facilitator, organizer, supporter, associate, event-based roles and their guidelines, as well as some information on behavior requiring mediation, which hasn't come up, or the extreme cases have not come up, but as we grow and continue to experience new areas of faith space, we want to be really proactive about how we want to set best practices for the community. So all of this is a work in progress, and people can get involved with this project or any other in CW. Anything you want to add on any of those parts, Amir?
Um, yeah, it's one of my favorites. Favorites in the values is that complexity weekend is itself a complex system, which is something good to take, especially if you're not sure what your role is. Then the moment you're there, this is already your role. You're already a part of the complex, difficult to predict and analyze exactly process, which is complexity weekend as a complex system. So keep in mind that when you're not sure what you're doing, because this may happen. It happens to me, and this is this is a nice inspiration.
Would you like to connect that to some of the discussions we had in the organizing sessions about recording, or I'll mention it too if you don't want to.
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to.
Like the difference between recording, how does one's presence get recorded in an event through participation?
Yeah. Yes. So we were. We were recording. Basically, we were recording my own facilitation video for the April weekend, and we had a long discussion that led to the recording. But the moment there is a recording, a recording is a part of the. It's a recorder is an observant, just as you are. It observes, and you are aware of its observation. I was as a child a very difficult child to take photographs. My father really likes to take pictures and videos. I mean, of course, everybody likes, but it was the 90s, and it was not that common for everybody to have a video camera and that. And I was always aware of the camera, which made it for me, which made me a very unphotographic person. So the presence of any recording or any historical documentation already changes how you are to this. So this is a cybernetic element which is happening in the complexity weekend, especially now in this kind of session and in general. Since everything is potentially recorded nowadays, you can't really be sure if it's recorded or not. Yeah, it's always there.
Thanks. I'll like add another angle on that. That was from the discussion. Was there's this kind of recording in the sense that a MP3 file comes out of it. Like a video file is of the so-called recording of the event. Like the live stream results in a recording or the video file is saved. But then there's the biological recording, like the memory and the implicit and the subconscious influence of attention to a given participatory act, whether it's on a recorded video file or just the thousands of pieces of metadata and packets and just perturbations and all of that in the whole digital and thought system. And then about how like it related to having just different participant backgrounds and perspectives and familiarity. If someone is, for example, the least familiar with a given topic in a given conversation or a given room, like everyone knows more about control theory or cybernetics or feedback loops, by being there, that person is like enacting and participating or just listening, but asking questions that is changing that complex system of interacting people who might be medium to very familiar with feedback loops, cybernetics, etc.
Mhm.
And then it's like that beginner familiarity participant, whatever their age is or their other experiences, they're modifying this complex participation system. And so it's not like, oh, I don't know enough about this topic to go. It's still something that might come to mind, but like, how do we rethink how much skill one perceives to be needed to join a session on
Mm.
the kind of things that we're going to talk about in this program or in the weekend?
Yeah, I think a good example, maybe for some people may be aware of the phenomenon that somebody speaks your own native language, but not as a native. Somebody learned your language. Maybe in the English speaking mode, it's not an obvious thing that when it happens, that it doesn't happen commonly. So somebody speaks your native language as a foreigner, and you it's very hard not to reduce your own language to. It's very hard to speak normally with that person. You immediately slow down and you lose a bit of the natural rhythm of your own language because you perceive that the other person is not that familiar with that language. So this is maybe I like this example because it shows something which is it's so hard to control it. It just comes into the system, the interaction, this communication context, and it's almost uncontrollable how you speak in this context. Yeah, and similar happens when in a learning context, in the complexity context, when there are different people of different backgrounds and different levels of familiarity. Certainly, whether we want it or not, it happens.
One other thought on that was something I heard Professor Mike Levin say recently, which was like the difference between learning and being trained. Because being trained, it like opens ones up to their trainer not having their interest in mind or something like that, or the inability to perform without the trainer's presence, or all these other strange things that like a neural network architecture could get entrained into. But then like learning is updating our cognitive models, which is also related to how we act. And so there were quite a few interesting things I think we learned, and it hopefully opens a window for some who could see their participation in a different light, not like the last 3 minutes of us talking necessarily, though that would be cool, but how do we have that be something that people implicitly feel is cool and good to do and worth a few hours on their weekend? So, complex problems for people to think about, especially who like to organize. Let's talk about this heartbeat. So, the heartbeat program is available at the link in the chat. And we are currently in this live stream. Following this live stream, we will have one-on-one sessions. I guess actually Amir can facilitate if you're still here. Then we do spotlight talks and posters, which is just an open time when people who are there and want to can give up to 5 minutes, just something on something. And then Stephen will be facilitating a session on physically inhabiting peripersonal and extended quantum reference frames. That'll be 20 UTC on Saturday, and then feel free to hang out, but that's the end of the first interval. And then the second interval, there's before the interval begins, just if you want to check your audio visual or see who's around. Then we'll begin with Amir leading the one-on-one session. Then Michaela Emsch with the bioinfused communication, followed by spotlight talks, and then there's a open but updatable hour that we'll see what happens
Yeah, we'll see
for
what
those who are there. So big thanks to Stephen and Michaela for being facilitators in this Heartbeat, and anyone who wants to be a facilitator can be a facilitator. This was wow, looked the same. There's like 4 of us on the live stream. It's pretty funny. It was Amir and I, so Amir, thanks a lot. It was a very interesting co-organizing experience, as they all kind of tend to be when we can work on like a project and on something that's a learning journey as well.
Mm.
After this live stream with the first slide section and then the Jamboard very soon, everything else is going to be in Gather. So the link to Gather will be put is in the program. All these links that say Gather Atrium will take you to this space, and play around with it, test the settings if you need to do anything, see the chat and the people tabs for this sort of ephemeral messaging, and to see who's in the space. And this is screen share, emojis, and muting and have your video on or off. Do you have anything to add about Gather?
I just discovered there's a version 2 of the of the interface. I don't know how new it is to people, but you can really spin it all around. If you go to the settings and check the experimental thing, it all goes different directions. I just tried it for 5 minutes, but maybe it's worth a try. Maybe it's even better. I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely add features subtly and interestingly. And for those who are new, or for those who have watched our tools and website, everything develop over the years, you'll see we're using Coda more as this document format. And it'll also be the participant single source of truth, the PSSOT, in the April weekend. And that will allow a lot more information, a lot of flexibility and co-editability, commentability, and ability to like use the chat for chat, and have some people who like to curate information and improve a little niche will have some awesome opportunities to build information and perspectives and teams asynchronously. And we're just really looking forward to how that works in the coming few weeks before the April weekend.
Yeah, it's a very nice tool. This Coda, I just learned about it through recently in the organization context, and it is more inviting than Google Docs in many ways. You can do quite a lot of interesting things with it.
It allows a lot of awesome things, and including this ability to push public websites, as well as have internal knowledge resources and many other things. So Coda is a complex system, a lot of cool opportunities that already I know some people in the community are doing. So there's various ways to support CW. Just showing up and being there are the most important, as well as any feedback or word of mouth recommendations, or just sharing information. There are joining teams with other participants, and then there are the committees. And then also you can provide any financial support. Okay, anything else to add, or do you want to go to the Jamboard?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I will just resize some things. So just 1 second. Anything you want to add about using Jamboard?
I'm honestly one of the people who often get a bit overwhelmed But now I have the organizer role, so I have to take the role. Just flow with it. I don't know how many people are participating, but it can be things moving around there. So let's just do it.
Okay, so let's just start with a blank slide. Okay, so I'll keep the sidebar open so people can see like how to make a new note with the sticky note button, to do some drawing, to add text. So, where do we even begin? How do we initiate complex experience?
Well, now we go back to jiggle between windows here. Yeah. Okay. So, where do we begin? So we have the first page here. Yeah. Let's see.
By saying hello?
Yes.
Where to begin what? So anyone can write something? We'll maybe just, since we have about up to 30 minutes on this Jamboard, we'll be on this one for a few minutes and then go to some of the other questions. But then let's just see what people can add here for now.
Actually, I'm not discovering things on the Jamboard that I never tried before. What is a laser? Oh.
What do you think this serves? What purpose do you think this serves?
It's this is it's interesting that they have this feature. It's something for. I mean, you need a laser in an actual physical in the actual physical world. You need to point at something so people have the attention. I guess it's useful here in a similar way, but I'm not sure. You can still say yes. So if you have a more specific presentation than what we have here on this, but you can talk. Yeah. So if we talk about emergence, so I can mark it here now. But I guess it's a similar purpose as in a normal in a physical place.
Here's what the laser makes me think of. So this Jamboard session leaves a digital trace. That's all the metadata and all the servers and everything like that, of course. But then there's the one that we're accessing right now, like the little fragment that we're accessing in our all this stuff. So then there's the part that'll be, quote, reviewable later, like the audio visual of this live stream, which is identical though at a different time if you're watching live or in replay, but it's inaccessible to participate in it, but still you could look at this asynchronous resource. But the laser, if it's like only if you're synchronously watching the video and taking the time to engage with the timing of thought and the multiple seconds that it takes to really like listen to someone in their time versus the asynchronous knowledge resource, which can be kind of all at once and overwhelming because we have to find our own path. But like the laser being kind of self-guided versus someone else guiding the laser, but then it's always a little of both.
Yeah, I was just thinking so the laser is the only thing not recorded on the Jamboard,
Right.
at least for us, but it may be actually recorded as additional data that the laser was doing this and that. It's somewhere in the history of the Jamboard. Who knows? We're not the engineers, but it is anyway recorded now in the video of the live stream. So now the laser on the Jamboard and your screen capture of this to the live stream. This is the closest thing that we have now in the digital world to the actual life in the physical world. Now you have a camera, and the camera is the screen capture, and it's recording the only thing that happens completely live in the computer, which is this laser. The only thing which
Very
is like
interesting.
the only thing which is like the analog world, basically. It doesn't have a proper history. I mean, at least there's not a recorded history. Maybe, of course, the metaphysical history, but who knows?
Triangulate.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that made me think of was like you could use it as a voting. You could have people do in a synchronous session, so just make a laser move, and then you could video analyze like the screen or something, or just look at it computationally somehow, and have like an invisible but transiently visual decision based upon how people were instantly moving their lasers.
This was the help for him to triangulate. What are the notes?
And then here's what are the lasers? Because, well, not that there's one single meaning, of course, of anything, but let's just say that there's two different facilitated sessions that might happen at CW. So one of them is like, we're going to do silent post-it adding. So in that case, it's the maximum possible attention on the asynchronous resource. We're going to do just a silent coda hackathon and just really improve the coda for like 20 minutes or something like that. The other one would be a pure laser session where it just is on a blank board or something like that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to have such a tool which doesn't have all the other stuff there, only the laser, that is completely unrecorded in the experience at least.
So for the laser session, people have to be there. Quote, you had to be there. For the post-it session or coda updating session or the knowledge resource updating session, it leaves it leaves this more like exposed artifact because it results in like writing or some kind of modification like stigmergy. But then the conversation or the laser it doesn't always leave a mark, not in that same way,
Yeah,
but it's still like part of the experience implicitly or explicitly.
yeah, it leaves the mark in the biological sense, what you mentioned before, in this type of history. So if I go here and I don't know, I use a laser to that's a good example for this, to say hello. Uh, so now you've been said hello to. With the laser, it left no mark, but now it left a mark on you. It can be an entire story that I write there or whatever. Also, some interesting. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not sure which. I have some. I'm not sure what's happening first in my. There's some very strange. Oh, what's going on here? This is funny. I think there was some phenomenon of relativity in now um, in the in the Jamboard. I think it's hard to reconstruct this, but I think I just experienced that synchronicity in the Jamboard directly in my Jamboard is not the same synchronicity in the video, in what I see here in the gather, in what you're sharing. So somebody was doing something with laser, and then later, or at the same time, somebody was deleting this thing that I suppose you began with the entire page here. Oh, it's so hard to describe this. There was, so basically the actual Jamboard, which is loaded on in my browser, and what I am seeing that you share with me now, and with the entire video sharing now, they were not in the same frame of reference in the relativity sense, in the sense of special relativity.
One just took longer to get to you.
Yeah, yes, something, but it was no. There was no. I'm not talking just about a delay, but things that happened synchronously on one were not synchronous on the other. Things that happened in the Jamboard. This was a very strange thing that was happening. Yeah, unexpected communication phenomenon, or we need fireworks.
For what?
Oh, wait a minute.
Anything else you want to add on this slide, or we'll continue on?
Yeah, I guess we can we can move on.
Okay.
Before I continue talking about quantum theory in the Jamboard or whatever.
Okay. So, slide number 3. What is your intention today?
Do we write or do we laser?
Exactly. Where do you think silence fits into complexity? Anyone
What
in
do
the
you think?
chat or anyone in the Jamboard or Amir?
What fits in complexity?
Silence and complexity.
Science.
Silence fills the gaps and invites emergence.
Science fills the gaps. I think yeah, it's a very deep idea. Gaps is emptiness, but silence is not empty. It's not a vacuum. Yeah, you see, I think it really depends. I mean, sometimes silence, or at least for some people, silence just a thought just continue. You know, you know this in meditation. It's silence, but I'm not sure that in meditation, the silence helps collecting the thoughts. Often you get the thoughts uncollected there, and they continue. You know.
Does silence make you uncomfortable? And the corollary, what kind of silence makes you uncomfortable?
Yeah, I like that. I would say here silence doesn't hardly disturb me at all. I just speak because I have something to say, and I guess I like to talk about. But I don't feel disturbed by moments of silence here. But it disturbs much more in real life when there's a person in the same space. I guess famously, silence in the elevator is the most disturbing one. And it's the shortest one and the one which is most deemed to be over quite soon. Hopefully, if the elevator is not stuck. But still, it's the most disturbing silence. This short, very definite in length silence in the elevator disturbs so many people.
What is it about elevators?
I don't know, but I think I was wondering now if the elevator actually gets stuck, then the silence would be much less disturbing. Actually, there will probably be less silence because if you will eventually you will have something to talk about. The elevator is stuck. It's a topic. Um, and then silence will be less disturbing. This is strange. How can it be that the most disturbing, the most famously disturbing silence is just such a short one? It's such a silly one in the elevator.
Well, if context counts as a complexity idea, what is before and during and after the silence? Is it the nano silence in between like two syllables that allows you to actually hear speech? Or is it a facilitated session on ecosystems that starts with 10 minutes of reflection or laser work or post-it work without audio or without video or without either, or logging off Gather for 15 minutes?
But remember that um, I guess I don't know, people over 30 can have enough experience from the internet in the days which it was really silent. Actual communication with people was basically it was in IRC and these kind of things. So you had a much more silent experience. Maybe we grew on that, so we still perceive other things as extra. But the basic is pretty silent in the internet, in the communication mode of the internet.
Does an elevator really elevate? It also lowers. Why?
That's true. Hey, I guess it certainly
Depressor?
doesn't depress. It doesn't elevate you, even if it takes you up. It doesn't elevate you spiritually in any way. I mean, it's the most mundane thing that goes up. It's not like elevating yourself up on a mountain. This is an elevating experience, I guess. But yeah, but
They,
hmm?
oh,
and actually, it's true what you're saying because the energy that it takes for an elevator to go up is the same as it takes to go down. It's not like it's not falling down when it goes down. So it's because it's on a balance anyway. So it's just the same. It's not helping you more by it is, but it's yeah. This was a very interesting observation.
oh, something gets some. Well, they say what goes up must come down, and maybe there's different kinds of elevators, like one where weight like is counterbalanced. Maybe they all have to work on that principle, but maybe there's other ways to do it. Like,
A penicular. There is a sort of a sort of elevators or short subways in which it's just one line and it goes.
oh yes,
So when one goes up, the other goes down, and there's yeah, but then it doesn't use gravity at all, basically, which is true for every elevator. But yes, you can make use of it, but I don't think they're that common.
not communicating is also communicating. You know, that's true on many levels too. Like,
Mm.
your silence says everything, or the fact. Well, there's times where it's the non-communication is just expected. Like, we just haven't crossed paths. We live in different parts of the world, so our not communication is not super meaningful. It's just sort of the baseline expectation. But then within the context, especially of a relationship or a conversation, which is like a transient relationship experience, then having space in the conversation is very meaningful in the patterns. It relates to who speaks up and what people, how what they hear impacts them and how much they get to process, do laser work, do post-it work. Let's do one more slide. And then we'll go to gather. This slide, or do you suggest a different one, Amir?
Let's see, where are you now? Oh, this is the...
How can complexity have impact in real-world systems? Let's do that one. Slide
yeah, sure.
5.
Oh. Actually, the question is already framed interestingly. How can complexity have impact in real-world system? But then, well, what do you mean? How can it? It does. It's there. or I guess we're talking about complexity signs.
Exactly. Good questions.
This would make the question too long for the page.
So we have complexity.
There's complexity and there's complexity signs. Yeah. Obviously,
and
complexity is
theory.
Thing. Yeah.
In parallel, there's systems.
Mm-hmm. Which is, by the way, for some theorists, it would be that complexity is, in some sense, complexity science, flipped the order of things. That complexity is a character, is a, you can even maybe it's even a measurable thing in a system. So complexity, so in a way, system is the is the major thing. But I suppose that in the context of complexity science, it focused on complexity because of this measurability in the widest sense of the word measurability. That it is quantitative fields. What systems theory?
Thanks, that's really interesting. So it made me think about how there's systems. People will say, how can systems have impact, or how can we use systems? Or let's add complexity thinking, like complexity as a thinking approach. And I think all these terms here, the systems thinking, system science, systems theory, like general systems theory. And if someone said, well, can you measure complexity science? It'd be like saying, can you measure chemistry science? But if you say, can you use chemistry to measure scientifically this compound's molecular mass? So then when it's framed as just like complexity or systems, then it's like, well, can we measure those systems? Can we measure complexity? And that's where we see computational complexity and like and information theory and a lot of other Lyapunov exponents, measures of system complexity, as well as resilience and like other metrics. But if it was like resilience science, the question wouldn't even be, can we measure it?
Again, I lost you in the 20 seconds here.
Talking about complexity as a systems property or resilience as a systems property lends itself to asking how to measure it. Like if temperature is a property of systems, then how do you measure temperature?
Yeah, exactly.
But by saying that it's can you measure complexity thinking, that's like a question about psychometrics, which might be interesting, but that's like a kind of secondary question actually.
Yeah, it's already Yeah, it's yeah, it's for very specific purposes, mathematic purposes, but it's not a measurement of complexity thinking.
So here
Or
we'll go over.
in a more general term, yeah, it's a measurement of, measurement of level. Maybe you can generalize it to measurement of level of complexity of complex complexity level of thinking. So how much a thinking of thinking, how much the thinking of a person is complex. So how far it goes to higher level abstractions and these kind of things. So this may be measurable in the psychometric sense, as you said. And then this would be a measurement of
Nice.
complexity thinking in a way.
So just to read some of these other notes, and then we'll give like last thoughts, Amir. Do we really always have to measure everything? Qualitative
Yeah, this is
versus
of course this is of course this thought in the background that continues to nudge me all this time that we're talking about these measurements. Yeah, it's I found that especially in the wider systems theory, there's some things which are just more qualitative in their nature. Especially in cybernetics, I found it like that. There's some focus on communication, not in the information theory sense, but in more qualitative sense, even psychological sense.
Yeah.
But with a complexity, so to speak, perspective. So there's a lot of room for the qualitative perspective. Which I don't have much to add at this point.
Well said, though. Just to read these last post-its. So it does. Most of our context is complex. Everything is ecosystems. What is key in a system is the fluxes rather than the nodes. This is not yet recognized, but will one day, and that day, complexity thinking will be helpful. Do we really always have to measure everything? And that's the same syntax put in two different contexts. So the mirror duplication and their differential context, it provides meaning and other notes. So Amir, any final comments before we close this part and head over to Gather?
Yeah, maybe I guess it's everything is ecosystems. I like this one, and maybe in a way it goes back to this quality. I was thinking about the famous collection of papers of Gregory Bateson, Steps to an Ecology of Mind, and just like this title, you already said so much. Steps to an Ecology of Mind, in which is so the mind, this I don't know, holy grail of philosophy or whatever, is something which is ecological in the deeper sense, not just in the. Usually, people think about ecosystems and ecology as something, as the natural world in the naive sense of the term. But if we think of mind, big thing as a part of ecology, then it puts the challenges that we're facing in a whole different perspective, and it emphasizes it goes back. It's a part of an answer to this question of quality, because then you have to introduce quality to your research, to your understanding of complexity.
Wow. It just makes me think about how when we count quantity, we lose quality. So there's 39 cases of this out of the 65 sample size, and those become quantity, but then qualia and quality and qualitative methods and qualitative perspectives are actually what surround that quantity.
And this is a risk while we gain more tools and more, well, while we essentially in a way reduce our epistemic vacuum, reduce our epistemic uncertainty in some sense, that we have so many tools to analyze, and these tools are quantitative in their nature. We have a more, we have a big mind map. If you work in some form of a Zettelkasten method or something like that, you can have a big mind map of the entire linked things that you have in your system, and this mind map would reduce the quality of feeling of how it is to be in that system, and this quality of feeling inside it is we can't get rid of it. We need to continue having it in our immediate experience in order to not go crazy when we try to understand what's going on. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the live stream, Amir. Thanks for co-organizing. Everyone who's watching live or in replay, thanks for watching. And for those AIs that are munching this and treating it as a blob of text in one instant, you're missing out. But we'll see you all in Gather. So head over to the program, which I'll just paste in the chat again, and hit the Gather Atrium. We will see you there at about 5 or 6 after the hour, and we'll start the one-on-one sessions 10 after the hour. Thanks again, Amir. Peace out.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
See you in Gather. Bye-bye.